Cheryl, you are my Dream Launcher friend, and we have been Dream Launcher friends for over 10 years.
A long time.
A long time. Yeah. We've been known each other longer.
Right.
But I just want to pull back the curtain a little bit and let you share about our journey and what it looked like to be Dream Launcher friends without us even knowing what we were doing. We didn't even know we were doing it. But tell us about that journey.
So we were at a Christmas party. We worked together, and we were at a Christmas party, and I can't remember why we were having the conversation, but we walked off to the side and just started talking about some of the dreams that we had in our hearts.
Yeah.
And I remember a moment where we both went, this is for real.
Real.
And in that moment, we decided that we would meet together. And the very next week, we met at a local restaurant, and then for several years, we met every week. And
we were faithful.
We were very faithful, and we made this a priority in our lives. And very busy, both very busy, and but really made sure, committed to each other, that we would make this a priority. We went to a couple of conferences together, and the travel piece and the meeting piece, I think, was part of what built our relationship.
For sure.
And having that foundation in our relationship as we were meeting and as we were writing things down and as we were holding each other accountable, I think that gave us permission to also call each other when things weren't going the way we thought they should go. Or if one of us thought, this doesn't line up with what you said is in your heart. Why are you taking this turn? Or why did you bring this person into the picture?
Yeah, we sure did.
We did. We
had some conversations.
Honest. We were honest.
Yes.
But I think that is necessary when you are when you're talking about something as precious as a dream. And I also remember that we also were not afraid to bring people in to the conversation when we thought that we didn't have the experience or the knowledge. We'd bring someone in, get their wisdom, and then move forward.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is important is to note is your dream realized a lot quicker than mine did. And
which, by the way, I don't think would have happened unless the accountability that you gave me.
I need to pause on that.
Yes.
That's true.
So true.
It's true.
Because you kept me on track.
That's beautiful. Did you keep me on track?
I tried.
That's easy. You totally kept me on track. What I want to say about that is a lot of times we have this dream and we can see the beginning. We think we see the end, therefore we know how it's going to work out.
That's right, our timeline.
And things very rarely map out or happen the way we intend because we're on God's timetable. We're not on our own timetable. And so when we have this dream and we begin to brainstorm and mindstorm and pray and write it down, we have to release it to the Lord.
That's right.
To His timing. And I think time is a great marinator, and it gives us the privilege of moving forward with courage and audacity.
Oh,
because if you would have thought at the beginning of our talking that we would be here today,
never.
We may not have gone forward.
No.
And so just sitting back, writing it down, praying, bringing people in, taking the next right step.
That's right.
And being obedient to the dream, being obedient to the call, brings you to a place like this. And I have to say, Heather, watching what God has done with this has been phenomenal.
Yes, for me too, to watch it all unfold. But I think what's important too, when we write it down, we weren't just writing down hopes.
No.
We were writing down steps of what to accomplish.
Right.
And those steps could be, make this phone call.
Right.
Let me introduce you to this person. Pray about this. It was not just la dream.
At all.
It was practical 1, 2, 3 for the week that we gave each other.
And those are the words you used to use.
What's my 1, 2, 3?
Yes. Every week you'd say, what's our 1, 2, 3? And I think that helped crystallize the dream.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times, you know, we have dreams, we write them down, we don't do anything with them, and that's shadow boxing. And God didn't call us to be shadow boxers. He called us to be dreamers and doers because He's a dreamer.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And when we write it down and take the next step, it puts us in the ring.
It's true. Explain what that shadow boxing is.
Shadow boxing is when you're, can I just show you?
Yeah, show us.
Shadow boxing is when you're just hitting nothing. You're hitting shadows. You're hitting.
Yes.
But when you get in the ring and there's someone in the ring and you go for it, that's the real thing.
That's the real thing.
You're in the ring. We're in the ring.
That's right. We're going.
We're not shadow boxers.
I love it.
Yeah.
That is so good.
Yeah.
It made a huge difference to have that person.
Yeah.
That we wrote it down together.
That accountability.
We had accountability.
Is powerful.
Lots of tears, lots of laughs.
Oh goodness.
We were
Yes.
sometimes in the corner crying.
You're right.
Yeah, there was. Well, Sarah, your story's a little bit different, but I love it because it speaks to so many women. When we met, you were in the middle or about to graduate from college. You had a dream, which I think a lot of us do when we are graduating. We think, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm going.
Yeah.
And you loved Jesus, but 10 years, not even 10 years, I shouldn't say that. It's been like 6 years, I think. That's right, 6 years. It looks different, and your dreams have pivoted.
Yes.
They've expanded, but they also look different.
They do.
So can you just share that journey with us?
Yeah, I still remember the first time that we met, and the first conversation that we had was at a career forum when I was in college. You know, and at the time, I had dreams of working in the corporate world, you know, at Sephora or being a buyer in New York City.
Yes, you had a fashion degree.
Yes.
As I did too, which was our connection.
Yes,
Yes.
we were just going to make it big in New York City, and that's every fashion major's dream, really, is to make it big there. So I had plans to move there and do all of those things, but you know, I still felt that something was missing from that.
Yeah.
And I felt that, you know, I was a little disappointed because those dreams felt a little bit unfulfilling.
Yeah.
And so I started to kind of let those dreams go through that disappointment. And the Lord put the verse on my heart of take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. And He put that on my heart. So, you know, after our first conversation, I feel like He was leading me. I was drawn to what you were doing with Created Woman, and I felt like He was leading me towards that, to be a part of that. And I just knew that was something that I wanted to be a part of because it was bigger than, you know, these other dreams. And so I just kind of jumped in, and through all of the fun and creative and exciting things that, you know, I started to get to be a part of, I saw that God was broadening my own vision of what those dreams looked like, and that He was also showing me that He wanted me to, He cares about the things that I get joy from, you know, and it's not just, you know, you have to do this, this, and this. Like, He wants to fulfill those desires. And He often does that through other people who have said yes to Him also.
I love that. I've heard you say that before, and like, your dreams and desires are fulfilled through other people's yeses.
Yes, and He does, and He aligns it that way, and I don't think that's a coincidence, because at first, my dreams were only about me, and it was about, you know, my willpower and how I was going to be able to make those dreams happen, and you know, it had nothing to do with anyone else, really.
Which is quite normal.
Yeah.
For college graduates.
Exactly. I thought, you know, how am I gonna, you know, I've got to do all of this and get myself there, and you know, God was saying, no, that's not how it is, because that was actually keeping them really small.
That's
and He was showing me that He wanted to do something a lot bigger with those small dreams that I did have. And that, you know, through Him, that not only were my dreams going to be possible, but they were going to be more in line with my actual purpose.
I love that. It's so good. I've loved watching your journey. It's been beautiful. Cheryl, you talked about how it hasn't come to, everything hasn't come to fruition yet, but you have had pivots. And so how would, you know, as we're speaking to women, and women are in the same season of, I wrote that down 10 years ago. Speak to that.
I can speak to that because, like you said, that's kind of where I am. And I'm reminded in Scripture that there's several places where it says God remembered. God remembered. And it doesn't insinuate that He forgets. It just insinuates that He remembers who we are. He remembers, in this case, the dream. And the other thing is, His timing is perfect.
Yeah.
My responsibility is to write the dream down.
Yeah.
My responsibility is to take the next step. In terms of what we're doing, my responsibility is to meet with you and say, this is what I've done. This hasn't happened yet, but these are the steps. And you ask questions.
Yeah.
And I have to yield my time and the time for the dream to the Lord.
Yeah.
And detours happen.
Right.
Pivots happen. Sometimes you have to take 3 or 4 steps back, but it doesn't negate the fact that the dream is real and that the dream is there and that the dream is alive.
Yeah.
And so we just have to trust the Lord with the timing, and let go of our expectations.
That's right. It's so true. It's so true. And for you, Sarah, there's just women that we meet all the time that are in that season of their dreams changing, where she was waiting on this she still has the word, but then there's also that transition of, oh, the dream that I thought. So you're on the other side and you're okay with it.
Yeah.
But we're not
better.
always okay. Yeah, it's better now. But what is always for women that are maybe not okay with it and they're in that season?
Yeah, I think a waiting season is very hard. It's hard to wait, and it's hard because I think doubt really starts to creep in whatever it is you're waiting for, and that can be difficult. But I think that it's also a really beautiful time because it's a time where he wants to strengthen us, in our relationship with him, and really build something inside of us to prepare us for something big that he has for us.
That's good.
And so even though it's not fun, obviously we want something fast and we want something immediate that will confirm our dream and show us, I'm on the right track and, this is from you, Lord. But sometimes the work is really the beautiful thing that's happening inside of us.
The work.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Cheryl, you work with a lot of women, not just in this community. You're in 2 other organizations. You've been in this Austin community for a really long time. You see women. What are you seeing in women right now and their dreams and how God uses that in this right now?
Well, first of all, I am convinced that women are powerful, absolutely powerful. And that's not to say that men are not powerful, because they are, and we definitely need them.
Right.
But today, seeing some of the things that women are accomplishing, it's astounding. And then too, if you look back through Scripture, I was thinking about Deborah as I was preparing for this. I was thinking about Deborah and how this woman had the audacity, to, in a time where women were not prominent, to sit under a tree, and her nation, people in her nation would come to her, men and women, to get advice. And she had the audacity to go to the commander of their army and their national army and remind him that the Lord said that you're going to be instrumental in bringing us out of this oppression. And she went to him and said something to the effect of, "Didn't the Lord say to you?" And as I read that, I thought, she's calling him out. And then I sat in it a minute and thought, she's not calling him out, she's calling him up. She's reminding him who he is. She's reminding him that he has a call on his life, and that he has this ability to gather an army and
that's a great perspective.
bring our deliverance.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing today is women are calling each other up. They're gathering together. They're doing things together. They're not afraid to be in the background or in the forefront. I also think about Harriet Tubman. Talk about Deborah. Then you come several hundred years later, I think about Harriet Tubman, who was a slave and found her freedom and didn't forget the people who were still enslaved and had the audacity to go back and pull people from slavery to freedom. And several hundred years later, I think about Mother Teresa and how this woman was so kind to humanity and loved humanity and had the audacity to do something nobody has ever done before. And I think about you, Heather, and how you have built this amazing ministry that came from a dream. And then thinking through to people your children, your girls who are coming after you, watching you build this. It gives them permission. It strengthens their resolve. It gives them permission to dream. They can dare to dream because they've seen you dream. And I think the women are powerful today because we've had people go before us and strengthen our resolve in terms of moving forward.
I think that's so important, and you spoke on that a little bit, how God's a generational God. And we bring people with us. And just even mentioning my kids, like, I'm not just doing this for me, like what you said. God showed me it's for bigger. And so as you look at women and generational, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I think that it starts with, the women who give their dreams to the Lord and say, you know what, you're going to make this big. I know you're going to do that. Because when women get together, I think that when we are in contact and in community with other women, that we bring them closer to the Lord. Maybe women who don't even know the Lord.
Right.
Even women who do, we bring them closer to the Lord just through our own relationships together, and just in being in community with each other. So I think that there is so much strength in that. Yes, and such a strength of women in particular in what our identity is, to bring people together and to gather people together and to just raise them up for something that's bigger than what they initially thought was.
Gosh, I could talk about this all day long. It's so good, but I want to hear from the audience and just see what questions you all have about dreams. Hey, Stacy, you have a question. What's your question?
Yes. So I am wondering, in the midst of launching dreams, there's always a season of maybe disappointment, discouragement, and you're distracted. What do you do in that season to go back to realizing, okay, I still have that dream?
Sarah, you want to answer that?
Sure, yeah. So I think that season of waiting is just so important as the dream is, really, because when the dream is big, I think that God intentionally prepares us in waiting seasons to do something in us and to make things happen and to really prepare us and equip us to be able to handle the dream that He has for us. So I think some practical things are just, staying close to Him, being in the Word with Him, and really just letting your vision be broadened to see what is it you're trying to show me, Lord, like through people that I interact with, through conversations that I have, like you are trying to show me something, and it's about the dream. It's not on hold. It's not something that is just a task that's going to happen. It's something that every single day you are unfolding more and more. So to just open our eyes and to, let us lean on Him more and more to be able to fully see that vision.
And I think it goes back to the whole Habakkuk 2:3, write it down, make it plain, which was helpful. If you wrote it down and you know the Lord spoke it.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned going back. How do you go back? Well, I'm going to go back to what I wrote down, and I know the Lord said this. Now, sometimes you get it wrong, and let's be honest.
Sure.
And that's recognizing what's a you dream and a God dream. But going back, wouldn't you say?
I would. I'd also add to that character is built in the waiting, because you really have to shore yourself up and remember that this is a thing.
Right.
I prayed about this. This is something God gave me. It's not happening the way I wanted or in the timing. So it really builds, your character is built in the waiting. I also wanted to say too that it's important to have your dream launcher friend.
Right.
Because
That's right.
That friend can encourage you. And then Ecclesiastes 4:9-10 says 2 are better than 1, because they have a good reward for their efforts. If one falls, she can pick her friend up. And so knowing that you're not in it alone, and while you may be the carrier of the dream, I don't necessarily think that you have to carry the weight of the dream by yourself.
Yeah, that going back, because you're not always going to be strong. There were weeks when we were together, she was in tears, I was like, oh no, this is what we're doing. Or I was in tears or done, and she's like, no, this is, we said this.
Yes.
Good question. Yeah, lift each other.
Yes.
Yeah. Gina, I think you had a question.
Okay, so yes, my question is for Heather and Cheryl. Since you guys had such a long and successful, enduring, fruitful Dream Launcher friendship, tell us what was the key to that, to keep that going?
I think the key is relationship, making sure that we fostered the relationship. We just didn't meet. We did life outside of our meeting time, and being intentional about asking questions, being intentional about
Yeah.
meeting.
Well, we live by the calendar. We were like,
We
this is
did.
our date.
Yeah.
And it's like any other meeting or work day. If you have it on the calendar, even Hoyt, my husband, knew, like, it's Wednesday morning, I'm out.
Right.
And so that can happen every season. It even changed for us.
Right.
We do it differently now. We do like once a month.
Right.
So, but in that beginning season, we were intentional.
Very.
It was 10 o'clock Wednesday.
And
we're
we
meeting.
prayed. I think the
Oh,
other
yeah.
thing that is
Yeah.
necessary is we fasted some.
We did.
And I think that we can't discount the I can't think of the word, it's going to come to me. We can't discount the disciplines that are
discipline.
necessary for relationships to flourish.
That's right.
And so the prayer, the fasting, the intentionality with our
Yeah.
timing, and being real and honest.
Yeah, I think that's really good what she said is the discipline, because I think so often we think of dreams as floaty air stuff. Oh, I have a dream, but it's going to stay that way. You're going to continue to shadow box,
Right.
So we were intentional with this is important. God has told us about this dream that we were supposed to do, and we had different things, so we better get this done. It was not a floaty, this is going to be so amazing. It was, but it was also vital.
Also think about what it looks like for us now, because
Yeah, that's good.
We're still Dream Launcher friends,
Yes.
and the way our time together looks today doesn't look like it did in the beginning,
right.
but it's important to both of us that we
Yeah.
continue to meet. It's important that we continue to plan.
That's right.
And hold each other accountable.
And some of the reasons that we don't even meet as much anymore, like once a month, is because those dreams are coming true. And she travels so much now, which has been part of her dream.
Yeah.
So it's good to, and I also want to preface this with, and we've seen this with different people, like your dream launcher friend might be your launcher accountability friend for 2 years, a year, and then seasons change, someone
Right.
moves. Like doesn't gonna look the same. And I think that's important even with this class, that we know it's gonna look different.
Yeah.
But the intentionality is important. Yeah, good question. Love it. Well, thank you guys so much for being here today and just sharing your journey about your dreams and where you are. And to all of our audience members, I hope that after you heard everything that we said today, that you're ready to go take your dream step and go meet with your Dream Launcher friends.